Folks, let's talk about Devin White and the possibility of him being traded away by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He did just request a trade yesterday. This is being recorded the night after the Devin White requested a trade. So it is a pretty legitimate question that needs to be asked here. And I did do a poll asking you guys this question of should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trade away Devin White, and we will get to the results of that poll at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. By the way, if you guys are new, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button if you do enjoy these types of videos. But I went ahead and made a pros and a cons list regarding a potential trade of Devin White by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's go ahead and firstly get started with the pros, which the first thing that came to mind was the Buccaneers save money immediately. If he is traded, it frees up $11 million in cap space. And we have talked so much this offseason about the salary cap limitations that the Buccaneers have had. They have really done a lot of work and a lot of cap gymnastics and whatnot to be able to not just re-sign some of their top-tier guys in Jamel Dean and in Lavonte David as well, but also bring in some new faces like Baker Mayfield, Greg Gaines, and Chase Edmonds as well. If you have $11 million, I feel like there is a lot you can do with that to bolster some depth along some other position groups and really bring in some impact-ish type of guys at other position groups if you were to trade Devin White away. So that's the first thing. It frees up money in the immediate sense, but also when you look at the long-term implications in terms of salary caps and whatnot, you won't have to pay a huge contract. Now, this is reports. We have not 100% heard this to be true, but the reports are out there that Devin White wants $20 million per year. I believe he even said himself that he wants to be the first $100 million linebacker in the league, and that has been generally what has been reported. Now, if you don't sign a guy like Devin White to that type of contract, you can go and make other signings, keep some of your other stars on the team with more affordable deals. I guess I should say it is more affordable if you don't sign that long-term contract with Devin White. One guy that comes to name is Antoine Winfield Jr. He is a guy that is going to be having an expiring contract next year along with Devin White. You also got to think about Mike Evans. He has an expiring contract next year, as well as a few other stars on this team. If you ain't paying Devin White $20 million per year, well, you can take that money and you can push it out to keep some of your other stars, both offensively and defensively, around on the team. Another thing is that with any type of trade, you get something back. Now, this could be something in the form of draft capital or players. Firstly, in the case of players, would be good just to get potentially a starter at some position or even some good depth at other position groups if any types of players are thrown into a potential Devin White trade. But the big thing here is draft capital. Now, I've seen a lot of you guys with what you would want the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get in terms of draft compensation if they were to trade away Devin White, and I completely understand why some people would want a first-round pick or a second and third round pick and all these other different types of things, right? Trust me, if the Buccaneers could get a first round pick for Devin White, I think that they would strongly consider that. If they could get a second and a third round pick for Devin White, again, I think that they would strongly consider that. One trade that is important to look at here is a Roquan Smith trade that happened recently when he was traded from the Chicago Bears to the Baltimore Ravens, in which Smith was traded for a second and a fifth round pick by Baltimore, given to the Bears. Now, I think that you could get a second round pick for Devin White, but could you get much more after that? That's a pretty legitimate question. Devin White is a good linebacker, and he still has loads of potential at the age of 25. But it is all a matter of, look, not only do you have to give up draft capital, but you've also got to pay the guy as well. Does that affect the Buccaneers' leverage in any type of trade? Does that affect the compensation that they could potentially get in any type of trade? I don't know, but when I think of a realistic trade for Devin White, I think it would probably be like a second and a sixth or seventh round pick. That is the compensation that I have in my mind. Maybe you guys agree, maybe you disagree. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about what you think about my thoughts on potential draft compensation there. But with new draft compensation comes building depth at other position groups, or possibly even bringing in a replacement for Devin White at the inside linebacker position, which would obviously be something that would have to be necessary. I'll talk about that more in the cons section, but it is always good to build up depth at other position groups and bring in some new talent, especially in the NFL draft. That's how the best teams do it. They build through the draft, and the more draft capital and assets that you can have in an upcoming draft, the better in pretty much every single type of situation. A couple of things I want to talk about regarding Devin White and his play before we move on with the cons. And I know I just said that Devin White is a good linebacker, and I still believe that he is a good linebacker, but he is certainly a non-perfect player. And what I mean by that is missed tackles were a thing. He had 15 in 2021, that was first on the team. He had 11 in 2022, that was first on the team as well. And this is something that a lot of analysis type of people and some media people have talked about a lot regarding Devin White and his play, that there are just a lot of situations where he misses tackles, and obviously the numbers are there. He has led the Buccaneers in missed tackles the past 2 years. That is certainly something that is notable. Also, poor pass coverage was a thing this previous year. He allowed a passer rating of 104.9 on 60 targets in 2022. Now, when you look at some of the other linebackers around the league, that isn't necessarily terrible per se, but it's not great either, obviously, if you're allowing a passer rating of 104.9 on 60 targets in 2022, when I guess I should say in today's modern NFL, you want some guys at linebacker who can cover at least to a certain degree. And Devin White did not do that as much in 2022. It was a little bit of a down year for him. And of course, those missed tackles are, again, pretty darn notable. But that's all the reasons for the pros, and kind of analyzing a little bit deeper of Devin White as a player. When you look at the cons, there are a few things to take note of. Firstly is that if you were to trade away Devin White, it creates a huge need at the inside linebacker position. And when I say a huge need, I mean a huge need, because you did re-sign Lavonte David to a 1-year, $7 million deal, but he's 33, eventually going to be 34 years old. What are you going to do when he retires and Devin White isn't there to be your number one linebacker anymore? That's the question mark, right? That's the hole that would need to be filled. I love a guy like KJ Britt, but he has not necessarily proven at this point in his career that he can be a number 2 or even possibly a number 1 linebacker. So you create a huge need there, and that would need to be filled. Also, as I said, Devin White is not a bad player. You would be moving on from a player who has played at times very well for the Buccaneers in the past, and former number 5 overall pick for the team. You'd be moving on from your former first round pick, which that isn't necessarily too bad. Teams do that all the time, and it isn't because Devin White's a bust or anything. I mean, the man requested a trade, and if the Buccaneers do decide to honor that request, well, then that would be what it was. It doesn't make Devin White a bust or anything. In fact, as I said, he has played very well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the past. It is just business at the end of the day. But obviously, White has had some good moments, especially in the 2020 playoffs. He played amazing in those games. That is a notable thing. You would be moving on from a guy who still has loads of potential, is still only 25 years old, and has played some really good football for you in the past. Also, more specifically, what Devin White does good is pass rushing, and you would be losing a lot of pass rushing ability from this Buccaneers defense if you were to trade away Devin White. I want to make a separate video talking about White and the pass rushing ability that he has and why it is so important specifically for Todd Bowles' defense, but I will save that for a separate video. To talk in more general terms here, Devin White is a very good pass rusher. I think you can make a legitimate argument that he is one of the best, if not the best, pass rusher on this team in terms of blitzing and generating a lot of pressure and disrupting the quarterback, and you would be missing that in this defense, which would not be a good thing and could be a difficult thing to replace. Also, you'd be losing a team captain and a locker room leader. And I know that that is a very hotly debated topic amongst Bucs fans and in some cases sometimes Bucs media, but at the end of the day, he was a team captain for a reason. Typically, those things are voted on by players. And look, if fans think he's a poor leader, that's one thing. But what do the players think? They obviously voted Devin White as a team captain. It seems like he gets along pretty darn well with every single guy in that locker room. That would ruffle a little bit of feathers, I think, if you were to trade away a locker room leader and a team captain like Devin White, regardless of if he requested the trade or not. Players really do have a unity type of thing, and they always support each other getting paid and getting big contracts and whatnot. And we've seen times where players are upset whenever some of their friends in the locker room get traded away, and it could be an interesting thing to pay attention to, and it is worth noting. And finally, look, it's not a guarantee that whoever the Buccaneers decide to bring in, be it in free agency or in the NFL draft, will be a good replacement for Devin White. As I said, yes, there are some missed tackles there. Yes, there is some pass coverage issues, but how are you going to replicate that blitzing ability? How are you going to replicate that pass rushing ability? That is some of the questions that you're going to have. The good things that Devin White offers on this team will need to be replaced, and it's not a guarantee that the Buccaneers will be able to find an adequate replacement for the things that Devin White does good on this Buccaneers team. So, look, I'll leave it up to you guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions just to kind of get to this poll here. We had so many people vote in this poll already, folks. I'll probably give an update at some point later on down the line, but we've had 1,000 votes in this poll. Thank you guys so much to everybody who did vote in this poll. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should trade away Devin White? 56% of folks out of 1,000 said yes, they should trade away Devin White. 44% said no. So if you guys didn't get a chance to vote in the poll, hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should trade away Devin White? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, folks, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.